So this is Ellen from Sewn by Ellen, and today I'm going to start a new project and I'm bringing you along. We're going to make a 1840s evening dress. I bought a beautiful shot silk taffeta fabric and I'm going to show you. I have it here. So it's silk taffeta and as you can see, it shifts colors when I move it, and this is called shot silk. And so the warp and the weft are woven with different colors, 2 or more. This is made out of a blue and a pink color, which makes it look purple. And in some light it looks more blue, and in some it looks more purple. So it's a very beautiful fabric, and shot silk was very popular in the 1840s, and I think I have enough to make an evening dress. So that's the plan. I haven't done that much from the 1840s before. I have done like a day dress, quite a plain day dress, but I would say that the 1840s is quite overlooked by like the costuming community as a whole, but from me in particular, I haven't done that much from that time period. And it's much easier to get carried away with the big hoop skirts of the 1850s or the big giggle sleeves of the 1830s and so on. But I think there's something very beautiful and very charming and nice about the more strict and plain fashion of the 1840s, because the fashion in the 1840s wasn't that decorated. It was quite, the fabric spoke for itself, and most of the trimmings were just pleats and so on. And I have some inspiration pictures you can see here. So that's the main inspiration for my dress that I'm going to make. Coffee. I do have a pattern from Laughing Moon. I have used them before, not for this time period, but I have used them for Regency Spencer and for what else? Robin chemise, yes. But I bought the pattern for ball gown, and it's supposed to be like ball gowns from the 1840s to the 1860s, and you could so you have a lot of options between them. But I have just cut out all the pattern pieces for view A, which is the 1840s one, and I might do some tweaks here and there to make it look like I want it to look. I also looked in my Patterns of Fashion by Janet Arnold to get some inspiration and to see some tips on construction. And there is one dress which is it's a day dress. Oh, it's so big, this book. Oh, so big. But it has similar decorations that I want, the pleats in the front. And the overall construction is of course the same. Doesn't matter if it's a day dress or an evening gown. So I just going to so here we can see some notes on construction. So for example, it closes with hooks and eyes in the back, and that's what I'm going to do as well. You can also close it with lacing, but I prefer the hooks and eyes closure. It's quicker to make also. But I prefer that because then you can't see the closing. The decorations, the pleated decorations are just bias cut strips that you mount on on the bodice. This here is cartridge pleated, and this was very common in skirts in the 1840s. You could also do just cartridge pleats in the back, and then do like knife pleats in the front. Some of the examples that I've looked at has this construction of the skirt, but this is cartridge pleated all the way around, and I think that's what I'm going to do because I don't really like the look of mixed methods. I want it to be the same all around, and I also want to get better at cartridge pleating, so it's going to be it's a good challenge for me. I have done it before on my other 1840s dress, but I want to try it again because I haven't done it enough, and I will show you more about cartridge pleating as we go along, of course. But now you know the main inspiration for the dress. You have seen the fabric, and so for now I'm just going to cut out all the pieces for the bodice, and I'm going to start making the bodice, and after that I'm going to go along and start with the skirt.
I'm cutting out all the pattern pieces from the fashion fabric and also from a white cotton fabric that I will be using for interlining.
So, all the pattern pieces are cut out. I think this is my least favorite part of sewing, is just cutting out pattern pieces. It feels like it takes forever and that you're not getting anywhere, but it didn't take forever. But anyway, I have all the pattern pieces for the bodice in both the fashion fabric and my interlining. I also cut out a lot of these strips of fabrics on the bias, and they will be used for piping. So I'm going to use piping for all my seams, and also for the neckline and the waistline, the armholes, so on. So all of the seams are going to be done with piping, and I have some just cotton cord to go here. So that's one of the things I need to do first, prep all the piping, because it's very irritating to have to do that later. I also need to interline all the pieces, because we're going to sew them together and then treat them as one piece of fabric. This is also one of the parts that I hate because it takes such a long time. And I'm going to do that by hand, because if you do it by machine, the fabric is just going to move, and yeah, it's going to be a pain to work with. And to interline, you just place the fabrics wrong side together.
The cotton fabric will serve as a support for the silk taffeta and will also make it easier to work with the fabric.
So all of my bodice pieces are interlined and they're sewn together, so I can treat them as one pattern piece. And you can see I just sewn along the dart markings here, because that will make it easier to sew the darts later. But for now, we're going to do all the piping. I have these strips of fabric here. I have some cotton cord. This is, I think, originally like for Christmas wrapping, but it works. You just need quite a fine cotton cord to sandwich between and then sew along here. So that's what I'm going to do now. So I have a lot of piping prepped here. I might have to do some more later on. We'll see how long this takes me. But these pieces I'm going to sew and sandwich in between the different pattern pieces, so in the side seam, for example. But But before we start sewing everything together, I need to sew the darts in the front piece of the bodice. And for that I need to change my foot here again.
Sewing darts can be quite tricky, especially when they are curved, but I find that basting the dart lines will make it easier in the end.
One finished, another one to go. The darts are sewn, so the front pieces are all finished right now. So now I can start constructing the bodice. I have all 3 layers pinned together, but I want to get as close to the cord as possible. And in order to do that, I need my zipper foot. So I'm going to change again. There we go. And you can almost, if you feel with your finger, you can feel the cord. So I'm just going to stay as close as possible to the cord so you don't see any previous stitches on the outside. And I'm also just going to lay the zipper foot just next to the cord, and that will make it easier. There we go. And then we just cross our fingers and hope for the best. And this is how it looks. So I think that piping is a very, very nice detail. It's both makes it more durable, but it's also gives it a very polished feel. So first seam. Quite a few to go. Just going to lay that there, and then let's do the other side. So the back and side back pieces are sewn together, and such a mess. I'm a messy sewer. It's always a lot of things all around, and it's organized chaos, you could say. But it almost always turns out good in the end. Almost always. Let's see, this piping I'm not going to use now. The question is, should I do piping at the front seam here with the 2 front pieces attached to each other? I'm thinking maybe not, since I'm going to do pleats on the bodice here, and so you're not really going to see that seam anyway. And if I don't do piping there, I don't have to do as much later. Might do that. Yeah, I'm just going to sew the front pieces together, easy peasy. I'm really hoping this turns out good, because I haven't done a mock-up and I haven't used this pattern before. I know this is extremely stupid of me, but I'm both lazy and impatient, which is a very bad combination. But well, usually everything turns out pretty good in the end. And I just have to tweak as I go along. I'll do it, I try it when the bodice is finished, and then we can see if I failed massively or if it's good enough. Because that's what I strive to be, good enough. If it looks like a bodice. So one thing about me is that, as I said, I'm a very impatient sewer and I'm also quite impulsive. If I see something that I like, or if I find a fabrics, like in this case, I just buy it and then I just go from there. And I want to be finished with it as soon as possible. I just want to see it in its finished form. I don't want to have to wait. And I don't want it to be too fiddly. I like doing embroidery and some, you know, small finer details, but overall I just like to sew. I like to see results. I'm all about the instant gratification, so that's a problem sometimes, but anyways.
And here I'm just sewing the front pieces together with the side back pieces, and of course with some piping sandwiched in between.
Now I'm just going to do the shoulder seams. I'm not going to do any piping on those because they will be covered later as well with the pleated decoration, so I'm not going to spend any time on that. So I'm back. I have a Pepsi, so feeling pretty good. I've also done all the piping, well, in both the armholes and at the waist and at the neckline. So what I need to do now is to take the piping at the neckline and the waist and turn it in and finish the seam. So it looks good. So here we are. The bodice is, well, we're getting along with the bodice. The piping is done. It looks very nice, I think. And the next step is to do the decorations, like the pleated decoration in the front. So I have prepared these bias strips. They're about 1 centimeter wide, and I'm just going to attach them to the bodice from the shoulder seam and down towards the front seam here. But there are quite a different ways that you can do this, and if you look at the examples from the 1840s, as you can see here, and there are a few different ways, and you could do the pleats all the way up like this, or you could just start down here and just leave this undecorated. I haven't really decided how I want it to look. I'm going to play around with the placement a bit. Maybe just leave it for today, go and have a look, and then sleep on it, and then attach everything properly tomorrow. But for now I'm just going to, as I said, play a little bit with the placement. But it's going to be attached at the shoulder seam and at the front, and then I'm just going to cover the raw edges there with another piece of this, so it's going to look very neat. And yeah, I've caught a lot of these. Maybe I'll have to do more, we'll see. So yeah, we'll try and see how it looks.
And here I'm just pinning away with these bias strips to make it look good.
I'm actually not hating this. I think it looks pretty good. I'm going to do the other side as well, so I can see how it looks all together, and then after that I can decide.
Right now I'm just attaching the bias strips at the shoulder seam and at the center front, and I can sew them on properly later when I am sure about how I want it to look.
I like this. I'm just going to let it be like this for now, and yeah, I'll come back to it tomorrow, I think, and continue with it. Hi, so day 2 of making this 1840s evening gown. I changed the position of my table a bit because I realized that I was out of frame for most of yesterday, so I'm trying a new setup. Yesterday we left off with the bodice and the pleated decorations on the bodice, and now I've had time to think, and I think I'm pretty happy with how it looks. But I'm going to change a few things. I'm going to try to do all the pleats from the shoulders and then just tapering down to the front.
I am then basting all the strips in place all along the bodice from the shoulder seam towards the front. I can then remove the bodice from my mannequin and stitch everything on with small stitches that won't show from the right side.
Okay, after what feels like an eternity, I have stitched all the pleats to the bodice, and I'm actually happy with how it looks, so that's always a plus. I also covered the middle part here with a small strip of fabric, and I'm going to do the same on the shoulder seams as well, but I want to do the sleeves first and then I'll do that. So let's put this to the side for now. Let's take a sip. Okay, so now onto the sleeves. I'm going to change from my zipper foot to my regular foot. And I need to do some gathering stitches at the curve and then sew them together.
After I've done the gathering stitches, I just place it right sides together and stitch the sleeves together. After that, I can start working on hemming the sleeves. So I'm just folding the edge of the sleeve and then doing very small stitches that just catch the lining fabric, because I don't want any of the stitches to show from the right side of the garment.
So the sleeves are all hemmed and ready to go in the bodice, or what do you say? Are ready to be set into the bodice. The sleeves are ready anyway.
Setting the sleeves can be quite tricky, especially with all the piping, because there's so many layers of fabric to catch. But I found that if you just go slow and steady, it often works out well in the end. I'm using the previous stitching lines as a guide, and I'm just going straight over the previous stitches because that way nothing will show from the right side of the garment.
The worst part is over. The sleeves are done. They are in the bodice and it looks pretty good. Was hoping to start with the skirt today as well, but I don't think that I will have time for that. But what I want to do is finish the shoulder seams. I'm going to take a piece of bias tape. I'm going to attach it over here. Finish with that part. Now actually the bodice is pretty much done. I still of course need to do the back, insert boning and attach the hook and the eyes. But I'm actually thinking I might leave it for today and then come back maybe later today or tomorrow, we'll see. I need a break from this dress right now. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to leave this for now, and then the next things to do is just finish the bodice and then start with the skirt. I actually already have all the pieces for the skirts cut out, and it's very easy to sew them together. What's going to take some time is to do all the cartridge pleats. But that's for another day because I don't have the energy for that today.
Here you can see me working on the cartridge pleats. So I folded over the top edge of the skirt and then marked every centimeter and then stitched 2 lines of gathering stitches along those markings. And I'm using a matching thread here because we will leave the thread and you will be able to see it when we're finished.
Okay, so I'm back and I'm working on the skirt. I've made a
waistband that I'm going to attach the skirt to, and I've already done all the stitches that I need for the cartridge pleats. So now I just need to pull those threads together and then attach the skirt to the waistband. Okay. This is the top part. And I've done the stitches about 1 centimeter apart, and I've done them in 2 rows. So as you can see, when I pull here, just creates these pleats that we want. And now when we have the skirt to its correct size, we can just attach it to the waistband. So the skirt is pinned onto the waistband, and now we're going to attach it. And for that, we're just going to sew the pleat closest to the waistband. We're just going to catch those, and the inside of the pleats are just going to hang loose. Cartridge pleating was very popular in the 1840s. Makes it possible to gather a very voluminous skirt into a small waistband. It's not a very difficult method, but it is quite time consuming and you need some patience. Okay, it's day I don't even know anymore of making this 1840s evening dress. And we are getting so close to the end. I'm almost finished. So, yesterday evening I hemmed the skirt, so the skirt is completely finished. And we only need to do some finishing touches on the bodice. So here I just folded over the fabric twice and then stitched very small stitches which just catch the lining. So we're going to do the eyes on the left side, and I'm just marking where I want them to be, and I'm doing it every 2.5 centimeters, which I think is about the same as an inch. I then made the same markings on the right sides and attached the hooks and eyes. Okay, so the hooks and eyes are on, and the only thing left to do is remove the basting stitches, and then we can try it on and see how it looks. So here's the dress on. I just did a very quick and easy 1840s evening hairstyle. Even though, as you can see, the curls are very loose because it was so warm and I got so sweaty trying to take the dress on. So they're already starting to fall out. But yeah, this is the dress. I love the color. I love how the bodice fits around the waist. The only thing that I'm going to do a few tweaks on is the neckline here. I like how it looks on this side, but this side looks a bit different, I think. So I'm just going to attach the pleated decorations here in a few more places, so it looks even. And that it looks the same on both sides, but that's just a very small thing. Stupid flower. I thought the flower would look nice because the dress is quite plain, but I want the fabric to be in focus, and as you can see now with the light, it just changes colors in a very beautiful way. So I didn't want to add too much lace or too many decorations, so the pleats and the fabric is it. Yeah, so what do you think? I'm pretty happy with it. Might do some more 1840s in the future. And I'll see you in another decade. Bye.